All right. Welcome everyone back to another installment of Vac Time. It's been, I think, 1 week longer than usual. I think something came up last week, so we had to reschedule it to this week. But we have quite a nice backlog of topics to talk about. So I think we'll also be back in 2 weeks again and keep up the schedule. So today's topic will be a follow-up on, I think, an episode we did in the late last year, which was around creating a wrapper for the FS Node FS package that we contributed to the effect Node package. So I think you can see this here, this one in the file system package. That's what we created the last time, where we've already added a few little functions here that allows us to read files, remove files, directories, etc. So I think this can be extended over time. But one feature that we didn't add yet that's sort of orthogonal to this functionality here was OpenTelemetry tracing, which I rely on quite a lot for the projects I'm working on. So that's what today's topic will be about. And Michael will drive us through this. I just want to show briefly how I've been doing this so far, given that the Node file system package doesn't yet support this. I've built, in the past at least, I've built my own little FS module. So this is part of the content layer package, which we've been talking about in an earlier episode already. I think that's the open source code base. You can look at that later at your own time. This is, by the way, I think at the current point, the largest open source application that is using effect. So I think a great case study to look how you can use effect in your own systems. And yeah, so I've just rolled a very simple version of like a wrapper around the Node FS module myself. And it's pretty much roughly the same as here. This is a more efficient implementation. For me, this was more of a quick and dirty version. And the important part that I want to just briefly show before I hand over to Mike is that each of these functions here is wrapped with OpenTelemetry with span. So you see it here, you see it here, etc. And what this gives us is when we're executing the program, in this case, the content layer CLI, we'll actually get a full trace of this execution. So this is the one I've just run now. So you see here, here's the full execution trace of this. And you see in here sprinkled throughout this trace, you see here, for example, read file or there exists, etc. So this is very useful for me to see where there are file system calls being made. And sometimes you'll be able to see that these are bottlenecks of sorts, and or that there are quite a few of them. So this is a very useful feature for me to have, that I get OpenTelemetry support for as many pieces of my system as possible. And the file system is a crucial one here. So that's the goal for today's session. And we won't just manually wrap each of these calls here with OpenTelemetry. Since in my code base, I just know I want OpenTelemetry, but there's like a slide overhead, and this comes with an external dependency, which you might not want. And so in the official package here, we could either now say, we choose a stand here, basically, either like right now, we don't export this with OpenTelemetry, or we say we do export it with OpenTelemetry, but then the people who don't use OpenTelemetry need to still like bear with that. So we want to come up with a solution to this today that gives us both versions essentially, with ideally very little maintenance burden for us going forward. So let's see what Michael has to show us in that regard today.
Okay, Yannis, can you still screen or share your screen and to the interface before? The one on your code base.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first thing we should note here is that your FS module is basically just a set of functions. It's not represented in an FS module.
That's right.
Inside an environment, it's not represented as a separated service, but you are effectively just using the effect system, which is a normal case for app code, where you don't.
That's right. So in here, for example, that's a way of where I'm using it, where I'm getting the content layer version from a package JSON. I'm just using this function. I'm just importing FS like this, and I'm not accessing this via a layer, which is the way how we've structured this here, I
think. Precisely. So in the FS module, instead, everything is wrapped into a service.
Right.
And we have a layer that provides the default implementation, but you can, of course, provide the implementation however you want.
Right. So that's a good point.
Our idea would be to take the default implementation, keep it precisely as it is, but to build a higher order service, a higher order layer, which depends on the actual implementation of OpenTracing and depends on the actual implementation of the live file system, and that provides the file system. So you can, in app code, decide, okay, I want to provide a traced layer on top of this particular file system, and you have total unbundled the pieces.
Yep, so that makes total sense. Yeah, so far I wasn't. This was a very like low tech.
No, but usually it's a normal process. You start in this way in app code, then you extract those pieces of functionality into a service, and then you build aspects that transforms that service to provide a better API progressively as the abstraction chain goes on and goes on.
That sounds great. Yeah, I hope we can add a layer on top of this that adds OpenTelemetry support, and then I can throw out mine and start using the effect node one instead.
So I think
handing over to you now.
Yeah, I think we can start by creating a package in the hotel thing. I'll share my screen now. Okay, that's the hotel package. I hope that the Gitpod thing works fine. You are the maintainer
of recently added support for dot files, so which is really nice.
You are the maintainer of hotel, so
that is fortunately true.
So if something doesn't work, not my fault.
All right. So in terms of the dependencies, you would be, what are you planning to add to the OpenTelemetry effect package here?
I plan to add a new package that node, hotel, either hotel node or however you want to call it at the end. Mm-hmm. This will depend on hotel, mm-hmm, and will depend on effect.js node. Mm-hmm. And this will provide a traced layer for the file system module, but ideally all the functionalities that are within the node package progressively.
Okay, I see. So that's basically, is the pattern you're imagining that the hotel monorepo here would provide a wrapper around all the other packages if you want to
just
have like a traced version of them?
It's an integration as the same way as it is an integration to Jaeger.
I'm not, we can start this way. Longer term, I would actually see it the other way around, that OpenTelemetry is like a feature that all the other packages can provide. So
it could be the other way around.
I would actually, unless you have a clear reason right away, I would suggest to go the other way actually, and add another package to the effect.ts node package.
My reason for today would be that we might need to end up updating a few libraries, and it's easier to start here, but we don't have to publish it. We can
Fair enough. Okay, so for the sake of monorepoing,
yeah, for
we'll
the sake
here.
of mental sanity, we'll start here.
Let's keep a note for ourselves that we might actually not want to publish it here, but just develop it and then move it over into the effect.ts node package.
Yeah. So
perfect. All right.
Let me start with bootstrapping package structure with a
very sophisticated
automated module for package generation. So I'd rather call it Node.js, given it's gonna be the other way around. This is gonna end up.
I mean, I'd be suggesting anyway to like later or very soon move it over into the other package. So the name doesn't really matter as much right now.
Yeah, but as a naming convention, I mean, when we move it over, it should be like Node.js, because
that is true. Yep, perfect.
Hotel Node could be the integration of OpenTelemetry with Node if they ever do it.
Yep, makes sense.
Good. 000. Few dependencies. What have I copied from? I probably don't need.
I mean, all of these dependencies are coming from the hotel package anyway. So
yeah, exporter Jaeger, no.
Yeah.
So you mean remove everything?
I'd say so, yeah.
And have it depend on effect. Yes, auto. Where is it?
Yeah, we'll have to see what we make a direct dependency versus a pure dependency. This is where I think it's going to be.
I would like to start doing things like you did in general, having pure dependencies, but specifies as optional.
Right. Yep.
So when you install it, doesn't complain if you don't have the full dependency stack.
Right.
But the whole thing has to be optimized across pretty much everything.
Yeah, we'll have to see like how we. I think let's for now like work with something that works in this monorepo, and then over time we need to make sure that this like we find some notion of stability, and that ideally is as compatible as possible. And like we have both the vector here. We have basically 3 vectors. We have the OpenTelemetry ecosystem besides effect. Then we have the effect core vector, and then also the 2 packages of the effect OpenTelemetry wrapper and the effect node package. But we'll see.
You haven't switched all of the configs to work with yarn3 from a local.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's another part.
Yeah, but on core and on other packages, it's already done, so it's gonna be a copy paste.
Nice.
Does it work this way? Not even close. Do I have to build really from the main? This is unbearable.
It's been a while since I've used the Ultra runner here the last time. We could, by the way, also look into that. That's a topic for another time, but we could look into Turbo repo, see whether this provides any benefit to us.
Let me just do something. my very automated.
Not quite self-updating, but eventually.
But this will get way easier when the new effect is out.
Yep. Oh yeah, Nikita from the chat, hope I pronounced the name right, also suggested that we can look at narwhal, maybe it's pronounced this way, or Rush. I think Rush is by Microsoft to consider for the monorepo setup. I've actually personally looked at both, and I didn't. It's a bit of a murky state that all the monorepo tooling is in. I found like that each of them had like interesting ideas, but we're still like not as polished enough and not as capable as I needed in some cases. So and I think Mike as well landed on Yarn 2 and now Yarn 3 as the tool of choice. But yeah, I think there's still a lot of room for things to be improved. I think one part what was also wasn't so great about the tools that I looked in was that they didn't quite take into account that you need TypeScript project references for efficient incremental builds, which is, I think, an important aspect of working on these sort of code bases. All right. Mike is fighting with the project setup.
There's a few things around, but I shouldn't be too far away. There we go. It seems to be working. Yeah.
All right.
Build. Is SRC doesn't seem to be okay. Build CJS. Build ESM. Build CJS. Build ESM. No, that's fine. Index is here. Let's do it once again just to be sure. CJS, ESM, and the DTS are all okay. Good.
What is the difference between the build and this folder here?
Basically, we are repackaging everything, and at the end, we will publish from the dist folder.
Okay.
So I didn't want to change the original TS output, and I've made it different. But I'm changing the whole publishing structure. So
yeah, it seems a bit complicated right now.
Has been a
okay. Let's move on from that. That's also like not the essence of today's topic anyway. So
yeah,
let's move on from that.
We need to install the stuff. Effect. Yes, Node. Add -d. So this is a development dependency. It's gonna probably complain about peer dependencies. That shouldn't take too long.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't need to update everything, just the effect, yes.
So you're now updating it for across all the packages now?
If configuration is correct, I should.
I don't think you need to run this anymore in your Yarn versions.
Let's see. Moment of the truth, how many things we've broken.
Looking good. Okay, nice.
This is also a dev dependency, because otherwise the build process doesn't quite match up. Good.
All right.
We may need to, let's ignore it for now.
So you're gonna import it. Okay.
I'll start by the imports of things we need for sure. So let's see. And
can you take a brief step back and just try to explain like what are you trying to achieve in the next few minutes? So what is our next milestone that we want to reach?
Now the first thing that we want to reach is to have basically the FS module exposes the implementation through a layer. Okay. But generally speaking, what we would want instead of this const default layer, which has this type, it's a layer that doesn't require anything, that can never fail and provides an implementation of the FS module.
We kind of want like something here that expects OpenTelemetry and the like has tracer, and then return something like has traced FS kind of.
No, and takes both OpenTelemetry and the FS
okay, we can
service,
also inject that. Okay,
and provides a traced FS service, which won't look any different from the normal FS, because your app that is using it shouldn't really care. And there are gonna be a few squiggles around the environment that we have to do to ensure, for example, if you're using tracing, that it picks up the proper span and etc. That's not, we're gonna mount on top of the basis. But the idea is we want to construct this type of layer, basically.
That makes sense.
We won't be needing the live FS, but we will be needing the FS tag. So I would start by like make traced FS.
And just a quick question, would we wrap each function within this layer, within that service manually, or would we sort of iterate over each and then kind of like do the wrapping with the span, etc., and the annotation? Would we do that sort of
that is very service specific, because within a service you might have constant, within a service you might have other things, you might have functions that are shaped differently.
Right. So we would sort of map over each function and like, yeah, that makes sense.
Within this context, we might get away with doing something different because the shape of the service might be respected.
No, I think that makes sense, because for each function, like you might want to, for example, add attributes to a span, etc. And yeah, I don't think there's like a one-fits-all kind of approach to this.
There might be a one-fits-all approach, but it's not going to give you the best experience that you want to have as a consumer. And to be honest, it's about probably 50 to 100 lines of code at the end. So let's see what we would need here. So I'll start with writing a generator because it's service construction, and I'm gonna have to access different parts of the system. So a generator is usually the best point to start. And I know that the first thing I want to access is the file system. So I'll start from that. I'll try to reason while I do things. That will start with fs const fs module fs service, whatever. This is now our service. And if we now return it, fs service, just
that would be just as before, because
that would be just as before, but we would then say live traced fs, which is layer from effect fs again, make traced fs, and if we see at this type now, to provide these, you have to inject an fs service, and in itself, it provides it again.
Kind of identity on the layer level.
Kind of an identity to a layer level, because it doesn't change the implementation, how you would provide probably a default live. Actually, this would be trace fs live.
Don't we even have that in the FS module already? We would have
The traced version.
Yep.
Because otherwise you need to compose it in userland. So this would be fs.livefs, and you stitch that into the traced fs, ending up with something like that. That again doesn't require anything. This will end up requiring the autel tracer.
Yep.
Just the autel tracer. You can do this in app, you can do this in wherever, basically.
Yep.
Now, I'm not 100% sure about one thing, and it is caching around. Because to cache a layer, we are using the same key that it is inside that we're using the tag. So here we might have an issue. The issue is this second layer might not be constructed at all, because
can we just create another do we want to reuse the same key? We can just create another tag, no?
We can, no, the tag has to be the same, but there's no reason to have the same tag between the layer and the service.
Okay.
So this would be like traced fs symbol or whatever, symbol.for effect ts node autel traced fs. Let's put it in that way. And now this symbol can be used here, set key traced fs symbol. This doesn't change at all the service access thing. It just says that this layer,
that helps the caching.
It's the caching, and this could literally be even inlined.
Okay, you have a typo in there. You said not node.
Not node. That's the thing. So that's pretty much the structure we wanna have at the end. The second thing we need to access is
the tracer, no?
The tracer, precisely.
And now we should already get the right type signature.
Indeed, we are.
All right, and now do we want to have, like, if you hover over live traced fs again, what that's returning? Do we want to have like a different type for that as well, or do we just want we want kind of like a traced FS thing, or do we just want to have it look like FS again?
You don't want to have a trace thing because your program that uses the file system
should be able to use the same thing. Okay.
You should be able to swap it in at the same thing. And one better argument would be, actually at the moment we are carrying the tracer within the environment. In ZO2 we would carry the tracer across probably a fiber ref.
Interesting. So basically at the like when I'm implementing some functionality in my in the environment in coding, I would just see that I need a file system in my environment, but I wouldn't see in there that I need a tracer in the environment. That would be taken care of like during the layer construction.
But even within your program, because you want your program to be able to execute even without the tracing facility. So ideally you want to depend on tracing at the type level for your implementation. But if you're running in a traced environment, or just depend on something very lightweight of the type of a fiber ref, which basically can provide a default implementation. But anyway, it's something we'll look at in the future, because current system supports fiber refs, but are way less powerful than on new. So let's start by simply copying over a few things just to start with. Service ID is really no longer needed. Start with service.
Yeah, unfortunately, GitHub Copilot isn't yet supported on Gitpod, but if it was, then save a lot of typing right now.
I can open it in VS Code, and inside the local VS Code, I can have Copilot. Just gonna try it out for fun.
Let's see. If it doesn't work, then we might want to stick to the old thing.
Gitpod has been pretty reliable.
We can't see yours. The other.
Yeah. I'll reshare. I just reshare.
All right.
Exactly in the same place.
And while you're in there, you could actually start a live share as well. If you want to send it to me, that'd be lovely.
This is what. But it's sharing the Gitpod thing. It's not sharing the VS Code.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. We can do this the next time.
Yeah, can do that the next time, but it's a good idea. Now I have Copilot. Let's see if it would have helped me.
There we go. Nice.
Yep.
All right. They still got to incorporate the type context. Then it's gonna be. Then we can go home.
But better. Come on.
Got a double comma in the line above.
Why doesn't it format? This should be the default on the Gitpod configuration. Yeah,
There you go. You by the way, call it patched FS. Should probably just be patched.
Butchered FS. Good.
Right.
So what do we need
now,
to do now?
Now we basically want to wrap each of these with a width span, no?
With a width span. Yes. Where is it, the width span? Not in the tracer.
Yeah. No. It's actually just OTel.
It's just OTel.
I think so.
Yeah, it seems this is even not needed.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. There we go.
Span.
And so we need a
this
name.
has a small issue that requires tracing from within the thing, and we really did it in an external way. Okay, this should become a service in itself, but we'll work around on this here.
Right. Yeah, we didn't have this use case yet before.
It's a good thing to do in libraries, otherwise. Const with span. Same. Actually, let's do function with span. Span options. Where are they coming from? API.
Yeah, the OpenTelemetry API package, that's kind of like the way how you kind of like access like the global stuff around OpenTelemetry, which we don't really use here much.
Which we don't really use here yet. Okay, there we are. With span effect.
We'd pass in the name, no? It's the other way around.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
So that's the thing. We want to start there, but then we want to do a few things. Okay, the first one that we want to do is
access the tracer that it says
/function. Let's start with that. Then we want to say provide service, and we want to say OT tracer. We want to give it the tracer that we already have from the context. These will have limitations, but at least now this is what's.
Can you briefly explain the limitations that this might have?
Sorry?
Can you elaborate on what you mean by this is limitations?
This is mutations.
No, what you said this has limitations.
Well, this has limitations because we are taking the tracer at the construction time.
And this could be overwritten then throughout the execution.
Precisely.
Right.
Shouldn't be too big of a deal, but the ideal thing to do would be provide service M, and here saying access M env, so the environment, and then say t dot succeed with this, if actually const already present or t tracer dot read option, which checks the environment and give us an option of a tracer. So if the tracer exists, give us a tracer, otherwise not. So and in this we have, okay, does this exist? If this is existing, we return it, otherwise we take it from the default.
Sounds great.
Okay. So these allow us to do a with span thing.
Perfect. Then let's start using it.
Let's start using it. Let's start by file exist. Path. Pipe. Path. With span file exists.
And let's actually use the options, the attributes as well, and pass in the path also.
Attributes?
Attributes, yep. And then just like that. Perfect. AI knows.
No, AI doesn't know.
Oh. Oh, path-like. Yeah, I would say colon path to string. And then see whether this blows up at some point. One other thing that we might want to do, this might be a good opportunity to introduce like some naming convention around the span name, since right now it's just file exists. Maybe you want to, similar how we have come up with some naming convention for the tag, or no, I think for the tagged arrows. We might want to have it here, maybe be like Node.fs.file exists.
I will. I'm impressed that this is actually has worked. Amazing. Node.fs.file exists, something like that.
Yeah, for now. Maybe at some point we want to make it even configurable, but let's start with this.
Yeah. Come on, I expect you to do that.
There we go. Oh, no, quite. Oh.
It has unpiped. How can artificial intelligence unpipe a computation?
That is interesting.
Well, actually, that is true. That even compiles. We don't need it.
Now you let AI influence your programming style. What has happened?
I don't generally like pipe. I think I've made that quite clear for many reasons. Service ID doesn't need anything else. Actually, will probably be removed at some point. It's a symbol. File. Come on, you can know it. Few seconds. No, are you that dumb?
Sometimes you get a nudge in the right direction. Is that the...
Oh, was doing something? No? Come on.
I think you can... Oh, there you go.
Almost. Oh, it has just done the service.
At the end of this year, you've forgotten how to program.
Okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, we might want to at some point allow a bit more, like in that case, maybe you want to do JSON stringify. Yeah.
I don't like what I'm doing, but okay, the data, I don't think you wanna have the whole data inside.
That's true. Yep, this might blow up the spans quite a lot. All right, and let's do this. That I am. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do the access. Yeah. Path like attributes.
The AI is tripping up if this is the first line, it seems.
Actually, I need to be sure. Yeah, AI is not that. Mode.
Well, we've got to pass it into the access call then, the mode. Huh? Same for the options.
And the
we'll
options.
also want to add the options to the attributes.
Of course, this should be done properly.
Okay. Now the stat.
I expect you to do it fully.
There we go.
Done.
Wonderful. The AI has passed the exam. All right.
Seems we have everything.
Nice. So how are we gonna give it a try?
How did we test this thing?
Maybe this is just with a console logger.
No, it was this with the, we did a testing.
So I'd be happy to just send you a 2 file snippets that set up a Jaeger backend where we can trace things to
inside the test, because these ideas.
So we could either do like a test, but I was rather thinking more of like an examples folder where we can just like do like a one-off.
Okay, we might need to set up the demo command, which I'm not 100% sure how to do it here.
What do you mean by demo command?
It's gonna have to resolve the imports. It's gonna have to run the compiler plugin in TS node and stuff like that.
No, it should be all right. Like this should just fit with the monorepo setup. That shouldn't be a problem.
What do you mean?
So you can just create a I would suggest do top level an examples folder.
Top level here.
Yep, just create a folder examples and create in one in there, which I don't know, call it whatever you want. Simple. Simple is a good name. And there a package JSON.
Oh, you mean in the compiled? This simple will reference exactly the compiled output from the node module directory.
No, we can actually also have it use TS references. And this way it will just follow the, I assume we're using the project references feature of TypeScript here, no? Okay, not yet. That's what we should do in the future. But then for now,
and to be honest, I already know this is more complicated because you're not considering the custom configuration and everything else. So I will
no, this would just use the build output. So it would rely on having built before, but that should be all right.
How do you figure that the build has that specific path?
Oh, that would be taken care of by Yarn.
No. Inside Node.hotel, you don't have the package.json with the exports and everything else to point to the build directory. It's not yet this type of setup.
Wouldn't we want to add it here, though?
Yeah, but as I said, it's part of the changes.
Okay.
At the moment, the distribution folder will get its own package.json by the build tool.
Okay.
Is generated.
Okay, I see.
So when we are in the setup that you are suggesting, yes, we can use this feature very easily.
Okay, all right. Gotta pay a bit of tech debt then. Okay, do you have another suggestion?
That's library code. So unit testing.
All right.
But what we could do is a demo folder here and configure the project references and a demo command that I should have in some things. But we're gonna have to test it. And you wanted to test it with Jaeger, but I don't even have the local Jaeger.
That's if you have Docker running here, and I suspect Docker is can be used in Gitpod, then you should be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me send you, or actually, you can just take a look at that part and content layer. I'll send you a link. And there's 2 files. Just download these files. I typically have a folder .infra and have a folder Jaeger there. There you can just put them, and then you go in that directory, Docker compose up, and you're flying.
Up -D.
Yep.
Does it bring up everything already?
Should. Do you have these 2 files? I couldn't see it on your screen.
This one, the collector config.
We can still only see VS Code, and you don't seem to have VS Code.
I've done it. Sorry, I've done it in the browser.
Which should be synced, so you're good.
I've done it in the browser. Okay. Started all, and in the browser, it told me that it made a service available on 9464 make public, 4317 make public.
You want to go to the port 16688.
Beautiful. I need to share my screen, the whole thing. No, it's not on localhost. I have it in Gitpod.
Oh yeah. So if you reload, you should see service 1 now, because Jaeger itself traces itself. There you go. And so now you want to, yeah, so this will just show you traces for the UI, Inception style.
I was meaning to mention Inception style.
So let me send you another link to the way of how I'm typically doing tracing.
So I probably use the as
just send you the link
as from it's Node FileSystem pipe fs dot file exists. I don't know, slash workspace. Okay, not this console log. This console log doesn't make sense. For effect, t dot. Actually, you don't really need to do anything more than this. It's main. We need to provide a file system to this. We want to load up the traced fs from here. Actually, the live traced fs. Const. Actually, this would be a program. This would be our main function. By program, provide some layer, live traced fs. This should ask for the open tracing thing.
So notice line 6. You want the gRPC exporter here. That's what works with Jaeger in combination with the collector. But yeah, just copy paste that.
Was I in here? No.
Just notice that we're like this code is more, it's not specific about Jaeger, but it's targeting OpenTelemetry, the OpenTelemetry
gRPC collector.
Exactly. Yeah, there the dummy stuff. I have 2 tracers here, and so you don't need the dummy part. Yeah.
But I do need those things.
Yep.
No. Wait. Those 2 things are local to here. They exist in here, so they will be part of.
If you don't have like local references set up, then you gotta do like however you do it.
Yeah, and that's
no, but I think we should just treat it as the other thing, which is just like another a def dependency for the demo, I think.
Can't install duplicates. I know I have set up a demo command somewhere. Because otherwise we're gonna run it with jest, which should work out of the box.
Bit complicated, but hopefully we can simplify this a lot soon.
I knew I had it. So. RT TypeScript project demo.
Oh boy, state of JavaScript, more configuration than actual source code.
How am I doing it in here? It's just we don't have interlinked stuff, or do we? No, but from Jest it can run because it's the same it's totally the same TypeScript thing. So I think the only realistic thing for today would be to add jest. Yeah. Test.
You go dig your grave and dig it deeper.
Come on, it's not like that. Trace.test.ts. And Jaeger, the setup, it's okay. Now, what's this complaining about? The new folder delete.
You probably still want to add that to the package.js and to the dev dependencies.
Not needed for jest. You haven't done this part for those two packages, which is why it's complaining. So that's on the base. And /home. Need to do this for this one and for this other one. Beautiful state of JS. I would agree with that statement. Plus a good degree of technical depth accumulated. This is by the way of using index.js and stuff. Now you think that might be it. It's not. Because that's
just want to point out, this is nothing to do with effect. This is just poor monorepo management, in my opinion.
Who's managing this repo? Someone silent. Have I changed everything properly? Maybe. Magical.
All right.
Okay, the dummy tracer, we don't need it, we said. Provide Jaeger tracing. What's the service name?
The service name is sort of like you can just use anything. The service name is later important when you have a trace system and you want to distinguish different parts. For now, it's just call it like demo.
And that seems something we can run.
Okay.
Show trace. Sync. Let's do it brutally. Await. Payload run promise main. Yarn test packages node. Awesome. Failed. Lovely. Cannot find module from package.
Maybe you have not added that to your magic file. You have. Maybe we need to run build first.
I have.
Okay.
Just should be taking this thing. Just should be taking this thing. Yes. Have I added node auto? hotel node, not hotel node.
That's actually, I think, a old.
Lovely, isn't it? Packages. Does the order count in this?
I don't
Hell?
think so. No.
Why are you even complaining?
Once, just copy it.
Yes. That's the whole gist. We need to set up these on plugins. Actually, let's do everything. Is that in the tsconfig or in the tsconfig jest? That's the tsconfig jest. We're only missing the second one. She's using path aliases to transform the path. And given you're not using it, probably you aren't at minus the. Here. Come on. Is just not using the TypeScript? Is TS-patch working here?
Maybe run yarn prepare one more time. I've changed it in my packages, my repos mostly to post install instead of prepare.
Let's clear the cache once again. Come on, come on, come on. Yes.
Incredible. Let's.
Incredible.
You got to refresh.
Gotta refresh. Gotta change the service name to demo.
Nice. All right, fine. Yes.
There we go.
Amazing. Okay. Click on it. Tags. Path. Amazing. It's there.
It's there.
Great. All right.
And as we've seen, the program has nothing to do with tracer. That's a plain.
That's awesome. So, but if you were to comment out line 13, it would complain, no?
1 second. Yeah, I wanted to do something else. Complain line
now 16.
Now 16. Without 16, it will complain.
Yep.
But because we are using the live traced, if we were to use fs.livefs, it would not complain.
Yep, that's great.
And it wouldn't trace.
Yep, that makes perfect sense.
Anything else, it's precisely the same. And clearly, you can see how this is fs.livefs. This could totally be done in
a less readable way, you mean?
in a what's it doing? In a more free way.
Yep.
If you want to like test against a custom implementation of the live FS of the file system. And by the way,
as we're just wrapping it. Yep.
Doing these things is getting better with the layers from 2.0, where the layers are also a monad. Nice. So you can chain layers together. You can do the whole stuff you do with normal effects.
Nice. That's awesome. All right. I hope for future installments we have a better ratio of like actually doing the thing and less battling with JavaScript tooling. But
you wanted to use Jaeger. That's partially your fault. I've said it.
I mean, Jaeger anyway. Yeah. Thanks so much for pushing things forward here. That was very insightful for me. Hopefully also useful for others. Maybe want to post-edit this video a bit and cut out like some of the testing odysseys.
I will change the few things and move to the Node package. Publish the updates we've done on the auto side and get it up to a decent level.
Awesome. All right. I think that wraps it for today. And I guess we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Thanks
so much for your time, Mike.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.